It takes time,
Yeah.
but it's worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think those check-ins are the hardest. I know that there's 4 check-ins that I try and keep a good habit around with my wife that have really helped me. One of them is every day I'll ask her, like, what was your highlight today? Or what did you learn today? Something positive, something like, what's the best thing that happened to you today? I want to know, because it's so easy for us to get so busy in our days, not see each other all day, not speak all day. And days can go by like that too, because we're also traveling. And then every week I try and ask her, like, what can I help you with this week? Like, is there something coming up that I just need to be aware of?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just information.
Yeah.
And that gives me an opportunity to also tell her, I've got a really stressful week coming up.
Right,
just know
right.
that I may not be at my best this week. I'm just letting you know. Every month I'm, checking in with her and trying to just say to her, like, what's your big focus for this month? Like, what's the big thing that you're working on? Then every year is easy. Like, what's your goal this year? A resolution or whatever. And I find that those questions, and sometimes every quarter I'll ask a question, which is the hardest one, but it's like, is this relationship going in the direction you want it to? And if it isn't, what are you willing to do? And what am I willing to do to get it back on track?
Yeah.
Because I find so often, like, if you just don't talk about that deep intimacy, you're just going on different tracks. And that's why 5 years later, you're like, well, I don't know you anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I find that, like, staying in close contact. But one of the biggest things I read, which I wanted to try with you, is the Gottman Institute talked about how the number one skill or habit in relationships, and they looked at couples who'd stayed together the longest, and they found it wasn't date nights, it wasn't vacations, it wasn't any of this stuff. It was learning how to fight.
Oh,
it was
for
knowing
sure.
how to deal with conflict. And most couples, obviously, we all go, well, we never fight, or we're never going to fight, but it's inevitable. So I came up with these 3 fight styles, and I wanted to know how you see yourself and how you see President Obama, or how he would see himself. And so here, the 3 fight styles are a venter, which means I want to fix and solve it right now. You like to vent, but you're really trying to fix and solve it. The second one is you're a hider. You need time and space to think about it. You just want to go spend time by yourself. And then the third one is the exploder, where it's like, I want my emotions to be heard, felt, and seen before we take time apart or before we try and solve it. Which one are you?
Okay, so I've changed over. I think early on in our relationships, I was more of an exploder.
Wow.
I think he has always been a fixer, right?
The venter, fixer, yeah.
So then I would be explosive and then want to hide, right? It's like, I want to explode, let me have my emotions, and then give me a moment.
Yes.
Right? And he's like, we've got to fix this. We've got to, shut this down. I will figure it out. Let's talk this through.
Yes.
And I love that about him, especially as a man. He is somebody that is not afraid to put his emotions out. He's smart, and so he knows me. So he's like, he won't let me pretend like there's nothing wrong, because he knows, I know there's something, you're a little off. And but I've had to learn that exploding on a fixer, it doesn't feel good to them, right?
Yes,
it just,
yes.
It feels good for me.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel good for him, right? But he's learned that as a hider, that I do need a little more time, right? If I'm exploding, I can't be rational enough to talk through your fixing. And if you want to fix it, then I've got to be in a rational place. So let me hide for a minute so I can get myself down to a fixer place.
Yes.
I think that's been the trajectory of our sorting through, learning how to argue. But I like those. But he's been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
He is consistently the fixer, and he's also much more even keel, than I am emotionally.
Yes.
We're just different people in that way. And he's learned not to be too afraid of the explosiveness.
Yes.
It's like, I don't mean it. I'm just saying it right now because I need to say it.
Yes.
Right.
And that awareness that you're just displaying there is so powerful to witness, because you realize, wow, it's not as serious as I'm making it out to be. It's important.
That's right.
It's important, and I need to take note of it, but I don't need to deal with it in this.
Right. Well, and it's maturing. We all say, well, say what's on your mind, tell it like it is. Yeah. And it's like, that tends to be who I am.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you realize, that's your heart, but your head tells you, you want to be heard. And you have to think about who you're talking to and what your end goal is, because that will dictate how you have to communicate to them. So when you're young, you just want to be heard.
Yes.
As you get older, you have a goal. You want to achieve something. And being heard in the way you say it may not get you to your goal.